Okay, this is match 2, and my opening hand here is not phenomenal, but I believe, yeah, I'm on the draw, so um, although I hate assuming that I'm going to draw a forest in the next 2 turns, it's a reasonable possibility, and if I don't draw a forest, it's probably safe to say that I will draw a mountain or a plains, and I'll get on board, and I'll have something to do with pretty reasonable certainty. Turn 3 Voiceless Spirit is a fine play in this particular environment. We're talking here about Delver of Secrets and how he's really kind of a fragile creature. I mean, the biggest thing he's got going for him, I think, is that he's a human in both forms. You really have to have the right deck, I think, for him to be really good. You've got to be making use of some really good equipment, I think, and you've also got to have a deck that has really good flashback spells. And here's our Voiceless Spirit. First Strike in this block, to me, is the most useful ability to have, right behind Hexproof. Flying is less potent, I think, in this block. Now, it doesn't mean early game flyers aren't good. Early game Vampire Interlopers, for instance, are just fantastic. Let's see, is the cultist a big enough threat? Probably not, but let's see, do we go ahead and get rid of it? No, we're going to go ahead and play our mob here. And do we go in for the attack? I wouldn't recommend it, but let's see what I actually do. I think about it for a while, that's for sure. Probably stacking that onto his occultist. That's what I would do. Go ahead and swing for some damage, or play another dude. That's the other thing that's a good thing to do there. He can attack with the Selhoff occultist without having the dagger equipped, and that's what he should have done there, I believe. I think a lot of times people think that they really need those cultists to stay alive. I mean, I'm not in my right mind. I would not double block there. It just doesn't make sense. Now, I probably should attack with the Spirit, because I've got Brimstone Volley for... the plan with Brimstone Volley is to wait for him to equip that dagger and then kill whatever it is. I mean, basically that'll just slow him down and keep me from taking damage that turn. But if he's not going to attack me at all, well, he's going to blunder here. I've got a First Strike Flying Spirit. Always good to read your cards. Don't worry, I make mistakes like this all the time, so I'm not saying I'm any better or worse than this guy. But the reason why we make these videos is because we want to be aware of goofy moves like this. So he's got a mill here. That could have been his objective. It also could be that he wants to morbid something, but I mean, unless it's a more crit Banshee, not really a good play, I don't think, to throw away something useful. But the occultist will do some of his work here. I think occultist is phenomenal. Milling, although I haven't tried building the mill deck yet. I've thrown some occultists in decks that weren't intended to be mill decks, and I have milled at least 2 or 3 different occasions, and I've come really close on the ones where I didn't win. Those outcasts are big, and they're kind of a problem for me. I really need to get my forests. But Rally the Peasants here is actually pretty doggone good because I can use Voiceless Spirit on the defense. Here I decide to get rid of the Occultist just because I don't want him swinging for 6 that next turn. And he's targeting his own graveyard, so we know that he's targeting his own library. He's got something to make use of that graveyard. And when I find out what it is, I'm not going to be very excited. His best play is probably to equip that dagger and swing for 7. Is it worth jumping my unruly mob? Let's see. I'm definitely going to consider it, but no. What I'm waiting for here is I want to get that forest, or I want to use Rally the Peasants on the defense, because using Rally the Peasants on the defense on that Voiceless Spirit will be a nice unexpected way for me to sort of trump him. Lately, I'm less prone to play Selfless Cathar. It always seems like such a good guy to have, and a lot of times I thought that I liked him because the sack ability allows you to activate Morbid whenever you want. But really, when you think about it, it's not really that great because when you sack it, you're in essence you're making any of your Morbid spells cost 2 more mana than they should. So here I'm going to Rally the Peasants. Or I'm thinking about it. I'm going to block first. Now I think I probably should have put my guy on the Stitch Drake and went ahead and tossed these guys away. I was just thinking that maybe these guys should come in handy later. So we'll Rally the Peasants here. Get rid of that pesky Grizzled Outcast. If my opponent here had cast Spidery Grasp, that would have really sucked for me. And he's got Matter Gargoyle. The game here is looking worse and worse for me at the moment. I don't really know how I'm going to get out of this situation. I can flash back, Rally the Peasants. A lot of people they don't pay attention with the gargoyle. They attack with him when they shouldn't. So at this point, I'm expecting that he will blunder and attack me, and I'll be able to Rally the Peasants using this Voiceless Spirit trick once again to get rid of another guy. But I mean, it really doesn't matter if he makes that mistake because this Stitch Drake is gonna pretty much be able to handle me until I get a forest. This deck just doesn't do any good without forests, and this is I believe this is the match where both games I just don't get my forests, and that really is the problem with Innistrad, in my opinion. It encourages you to play those 3 colors, and a lot of times you're going to lose games because you don't have the right color, unless you figure out ways to make up for having to run 3 colors. You've got the land that fixes your color. You've got Caravan Vigil, but Caravan Vigil is a little bit less good than I remember the name now, Shimmering Grotto, because you still have to have green to play Caravan Vigil, and in this particular situation that I'm in now, I don't have green, and that's the problem. Oh great, Travel Preparations, another spell that I can't use. I have nothing that I can do here. Pretty much what I'm thinking is going to happen at this point is I'm going to have to take some Manor Gargoyle damage. But with my hand this way, he's not going to, or he shouldn't surrender his indestructibility, because I could have Smite the Monstrous, I could have Rebuke. I mean, I've already proven to him that I'm a tricky player in the fact that I was able to use Rally the Peasants as a defensive card rather than an offensive one. And he's taking a big risk there. I mean, really, I think that that should have gone on to the hollow hinge, and he should have just wailed away at me with that. But I think he's thinking he's going to go for the quick finish here, and since he's got 3 good threats, I guess the aberration's not really good because it dies to first strike. But I mean, if I had any other hand here, this board could have ended really badly for him. Technically, I should have sacrificed my Cathar there, just in case. That's a mighty big insect. And finally, I've got a forest. Now, what should I do with it? Well, the problem is I really can't do anything with it. Probably the thing I should have done was cast Travel Preparations twice. That allows me to first strike with impunity. Oh, it really doesn't matter, though, because unless I had a removal spell, between these 3 guys, he can attack and win. The fact that he has 2 flyers means I need a flyer on the table. And, you know, this is an instance where this forest was just too little too late. I can take care of one or the other. My hope here is that he attacks with only 2 guys. And one of those 2 guys can't be the Manor Gargoyle. He could have any other. He probably has at least 2 other cards in his hand right now that would also win him the game, but he doesn't need to show those to me because what he's got on the table already does the job. Now this actually this is good because I can Ambush Viper the Scavenger and I can chump block the Gargoyle. Doesn't get me any closer to winning the game, but it does buy me another turn. And if he had attacked with his insect at the same time, he stood nothing to lose by attacking with the insect as well. Unless I did have the rebuke. But I mean, if I had rebuke, I would have used it already. I wouldn't be waiting until I'm on 3 life. But there he is. He's in a super huge position to not even care that that he didn't win the game that turn. So like I said, he's probably got at least one other thing that would have made sure that he won that game. So, you know, I take the loss here, knowing pretty full well that there was nothing else I could have done but maybe mulligan my first hand. Let that be a lesson to you. I'll say this and I'll break it a million times, but if you're not ready to play with the hand you open, it's probably time to mull. You can't assume, you can never assume that you're going to draw the land that you need. If you don't have some of the goods already, you really should be mulling that first hand. Now, I can't say the same about mulling to 5, but you can afford to mull to 6. I mean, essentially, you're not going to be in any worse a situation if you mull to 6 when you don't have the tools to hit the table. I take away the dagger there and trade in the torch. I noticed he had a lot of creatures with 2 toughness. Didn't really like Unruly Mob. I'm considering getting rid of it. I think I was just experimenting with the possessions. He seemed to have a deck that liked the graveyard and having creatures in it, so Ghostly Possession is a nice way to lock things. You can guarantee that they're not getting any use out of that stuff in the graveyard. Hamlet Captain probably should not have been cut there. Don't know quite my reasoning for it. And oh, I see. Ghostly Possession was a way to deal with the Gargoyle. Make-A-Wish might be quite good. I don't know. I never really got to play it. There we go. I'm still missing green. Now, I wouldn't mull this hand. This hand can get onto the table. My first strike guy is a good guy to have first. My Blazing Torch is a good guy to have first also. I mean, if you've got Blazing Torch on a Voiceless Spirit, you've essentially got 4 first strike damage for the first time the opponent tries to do anything to you. So, even though I'm not going to draw the forest that I need to get rolling this game, I can rest assured that I didn't really need to mull that first hand, and it shouldn't have been something that I would even consider. I think maybe Unruly Mob, Blazing Torch would have been the better way to go. A lot of times I don't play Blazing Torches early enough because I'm thinking that I need to keep them in reserve for a potential werewolf unactivation turn. Plus, I'm funny in that I think a card like Blazing Torch needs to be a surprise. I need him to play that 2 toughness creature that could really destroy me, and he may not do that if I've got Blazing Torch on the table. And that's another thing too. When you're playing against werewolves, you may actually want to play cards like Torch sooner to prevent them from putting some of their guys out, because a card like Grizzled Captains or whatever, the 4/4, by itself it's not a fantastic card, and if you've kept them from playing out their hand, then when it does hit the table, they're not going to want to leave it alone, just to leave the board alone just to make it flip. I mean, I may not be coming across very well here, but there's a lot of meta going on in my head about how to play versus and with werewolves, and it might just be another classic case of me overthinking things. My best bet here is probably to equip the torch onto the spirit, but for some reason I put it on the mob. Oh, it's because I wanted to go ahead and just get rid of that wolf right away. I'm not blocking with the spirit, so there's no reason to leave it at home and make him think I'm going to. What I want now is for him to cast some big guy that I can Smite the Monstrous, or for him to pump his Festerhide Boar in some way. The nice thing about Smite the Monstrous is it's a good "oh no you didn't" for the Spidery Grasp response, because there's every likely possibility that when your opponent casts a card like Spidery Grasp, he's going to make his own guy big to the point of Smite of the Monstrous being effective against him. And I really think equipping the torch to the spirit and just sitting tight may have been the better play here, because it would have possibly bought me an extra turn. And here, yeah, I see I've got a double block here. Don't like it at all. But I'm getting to that real bad point in life loss to where I can't afford a hit for 6. And that pretty much seals it. Now he's going to kill both my men, and I'm not going to get to do anything back. There's a forest. A lot I'm going to be able to do with it, though, at this point. Just take the boar out. It at least trades with the other boar. But I've got the flying is more of an immediate problem here, and I have no answer for it. I have basically 2 turns to live at this point, and nothing that I know of in my deck that can handle that situation. I don't have a flyer bigger than the Drake. And while I might have a flyer that can deal with the Spirit, that'll essentially only buy me 1 more turn. And here, I mean, I have to block, and I have to expect that he's got some other trick, but there's nothing I can really do about it. Well, no trick. But another dude. And I have nothing exciting to do. It's really time to concede. But what's funny about the Cathar there is that if I had that guy sooner, it would have made a huge difference on the board state. If let's say I had drawn him instead of when I drew one of the Woodland Sluice or the Smite the Monstrous, it actually would have been relevant at that point. So that's that match. No loss through playing, I don't think, but definitely failure to mulligan, and well, just you don't win with your green deck if you don't draw any forests.